A portion of this video is sponsored by Analog Cases and the new XTS desktop stand system.
Accurate beats.
Alright, so about a week ago by now, I went to this local record store in my hometown that was about to close down. And to make a long story short, I ended up buying the entire jazz and soul section of vinyl, which now puts me in a position with 7 new crates of records to go through, to look for inspiration and ideas. But being an old school sample-based hip-hop beatmaker, of course the main purpose here is to find samples that I can flip and make music out of myself, because that's pretty much what I do. At this point, I'm keeping these 7 milk crates of vinyl in the living room upstairs. And it looks kind of cool, but I'm not sure that everyone in this household is going to be super happy about that solution in the long run. So let's go upstairs, check it out real quick, and see if we can take some of the stuff down here, go through some records, and hopefully find something to sample. Keep in mind that this is from a small record store in a small town in Sweden, so we're going to find a lot of stuff like this. The Swedish Swing Elite and, you know, Sonny Boy, Singing in the Rain, stuff like that. But also stuff like Chico Hamilton featuring Paul Horn from 1966, Glenn Miller, Lionel Hampton, Philly Joe Jones, that could be a nice one, Quincy Jones, George Duke, Sarah Vaughan, Major Harris, that type of stuff. The blue crate here is obviously soul. We got stuff like Imagination, Manhattans, Eddie Kendricks, Shirley Bassey, George Benson, and, you know, Earth, Wind & Fire. Honestly, some stuff I don't really know about too, which is cool. Ray Charles over here, and Donna Summer. A lot of Donna Summer in this one. I've used this one before on one of my videos on YouTube. Billy Ocean, Kool and the Gang, Lionel Richie, Smokey Robinson. Even more jazz over here. Stuff like Errol Garner, Tommy Dorsey, Count Basie, R.D. Shaw, Billie Holiday, one of my mom's favorites, Benny Goodman, Ella Fitzgerald, Nat King Cole, Jimmy Smith, Errol Garner, Duke Ellington again. You know, basically a lot of old-timey stuff. So what I'm trying to say here is that we're not going to find a lot of like avant-garde jazz fusion from the late 70s, early 80s or whatever. We're talking big name stuff. Stuff like this. Luther Vandross, Teddy Pendergrass, and a few different Barry White albums where I'm sure I'm going to be able to find a few samples or maybe some open drum loops or whatever like that, which is always cool. You know, the jazz and the soul music that used to sell well here in Sweden to like average people wasn't the weird, experimental, crazy stuff. Instead, the big names that everyone kind of know about, like Barry White or Dizzy Gillespie or, I don't know, Duke Ellington, Louis Armstrong, Randy Crawford, and of course Swedish musicians too, like Putte Wickman and Janne Schöffer. But it's also exactly these types of records that I've used ever since I first started making beats with samples. So I'm really excited about this. Let's take 2 of these crates down to the studio to check it out in more detail. Now a quick message from today's sponsor, Analog Cases. The makers of the cases I use whenever I need to take any of my gear outside just introduced their new XTS desktop stand system. The stands comes in 2 different sizes, made to fit pretty much any gear that you might have in your studio. And what's really cool about these ones are that they are expandable and can be adjusted for the perfect fit. The smaller one is great for the SP404 at its smallest setting and for something like the MPC-1 at its largest. And the larger model here can fit a synth like the Wavestate or the Minifreak, but it's also great for something like the MPC Live 2, for instance, that really benefits from having it on an angle. There are also 2 different trays available here that goes on top of the stands and enables you to use them for even smaller devices like foot pedals and such. The stands and the trays are made from 100% sheet metal with rubber feet on top and bottom to not slide around or to damage anything. Super sturdy, high quality stuff that makes the life in the studio a lot easier. Check out the link down below for more information, and let's get back into the video. And here we are with everything all set up. Let's just take one of the jazz albums by random. Let's do that one. I'm not sure what this will be, but let's just check it out. Well, that's a good start. What? This is so freaking cool.
One at a time.
This almost feels like I'm cheating, but I'm actually not. Okay, some of these things needs to be sampled. That's just what it is. I think that's enough. Right there. Well, let's keep looking anyways. Let's actually go back here, I think. Yeah, for sure. I'm not sure, but let's... yeah, we have some drums here too. Let's start with these. And leave space. And again, nothing. Just to add some of those now. Well, I don't know, but it could be worth spending a little bit of time with this one to fix things up, but you know. It's a start. Let's keep looking for samples on another record. Let's take this one out. You know, this kind of feels like being in a record store, just being able to grab whatever. Let's take this one. Mercy Mercy by the Buddy Rich Band, an awesome drummer. So let's keep looking into jazz and give this one a fair chance. No. Come on. Is that actually the start of this? Just open drums? I guess I can't miss an opportunity like this one. Let's just sample this. Let's see how it loops up, just because. Yeah, that's good enough. Now let's just keep looking for more stuff. Really cool stuff all across the board, but I know I'm not gonna have 7 milk crates of these things, but it's still really cool. Okay, so you know how to play the drums, that's obvious. I'm not sure about this one, but I kind of like the vibe of the different instruments, so let's try to sample this one too. I do recognize parts of that, so let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's the theme for Alfie, the movie. Well, I guess I'm not going to use this for anything serious, but let's try to flip it somehow. Let's normalize it. That kind of works. I think that's fine for what it is. Now let's move over here to my group level and add a compressor on the sample, fast attack and kind of mid release. So we have some side chaining going on. Let's add a little bit more saturation on the drums. You know, we're not going to finish any of these pieces of music, any of these beats or even ideas today. We're just testing things out, grabbing a few samples and chopping them up real quick on Maschine just to see what sticks. And so far, it feels like we have something kind of cool going on here. And of course, that's the case. I've got 7 new crates of vinyl to go through, and in this case, I just checked out 2 of them, and I got these 2 ideas out, which is just really cool when you think about it. And it didn't take a lot of time either, so that's just cool. And I can't lie, it felt a little bit overwhelming at first to have this much stuff all brand new to me. Normally I buy like 10 or 15, maybe 30 records at the most at one time. And then I go through every one of them and I look for the smallest little chop to use for anything. In this case, I've got 7 crates of records. And I guess that's pretty much how I'm gonna go forward here. Just take a few records a day, I guess, or per session, and check them out and look for samples and do pretty much what I did just now, but maybe in a little bit more of a thoughtful way to make sure that I get something kind of cool. And what we're talking about here is approximately 500 records. And saying it like that, it doesn't sound that much, but you know, going through 500 of them like that will definitely take a little bit of time, and hopefully I'm not gonna have to go to these random flea markets in a bit, because I'm kind of all settled for a couple of years now or whatever. Now the next step here will have to be for me to find a way to put all the new records down here in the studio somehow. They can't be sitting in the living room forever. I need them down here in the home studio in the basement of my house, which is not that big. Maybe I'm gonna have to build some kind of furniture to put all the records in, to have somewhat of a record store of my own in the studio. That sounds awesome when I say it like that. So maybe I'm gonna have to dig into that project. However, if you keep following me here on the channel or just watching what I do online, you are gonna see me make a lot of more beats in the future with samples from these records. And that's just a privilege. I'm really happy to be in this situation, and I just saw this opportunity and I grabbed it, and here we are. I also want to mention that I did talk to the guy who had the record store, who unfortunately had to close down because he got the store itself from his dad, who passed away about a year ago, and this guy doesn't even live in the same city anymore, so running the store from afar doesn't really make sense, and he basically just did what he had to do and got rid of all the records. And I was one of the lucky ones there who got to buy pieces of it for a really affordable price. And I talked to him about what I do with sampling and what my plan is for buying the entire jazz and soul section, which is kind of a crazy thing to do. And he was actually just happy to see the records go to someone who would actually use them for something, not to someone who just puts them on a shelf and lets them collect dust for years, which is a really cool way to think about it. And that makes the entire thing feel even better. And this is just the start of it. This is just me checking out some records and using 2 of them briefly for something that's not even finished or polished, or honestly not even thought through, just something that came out. And I guess that's it for this video. I bought a lot of records and this is just me scratching the surface. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching this video. I hope to see you guys in the next one too. Until then, ha det gott!
Accurate beats.